Oh, hey, I almost didn't see you there. So, one of the most common questions I get asked when we have customers come in is, I'm running my first D&D campaign. Do you have any tips, anything that can help me out? And I kind of tell everybody the same three things. The first and most importantly, know your group. D&D is an incredibly versatile game, and there's a million ways to play it. There's players who enjoy min-maxing, there are players who enjoy the dramatic improv of roleplay, there are players who enjoy this collaborative storytelling. There's other ones who just enjoy it just having a good time with friends, and that D&D is almost a side event. So one of the biggest things, and I think the most important one, is know the group of people you are playing with. There are certain people that sitting around a tavern might be the best time possible in a game, that they just get to hang out, talk to each other, and be in character the whole time. There are other players who want to go out and fight, and sitting in a tavern the whole time would be an absolute nightmare. A shopping trip is always fun, until you describe every single detail of the shopping trip, and it slows down the entire campaign where you guys don't actually accomplish any plot points. Those things can be absolutely delightful for a lot of players who enjoy the drama and the improv, but for the players who enjoy fighting, and the players who enjoy min-maxing, and the players who enjoy tactics and ambushing and seeing their character pushed to their limits, it's not that fun for them. And I'm not saying those aren't great ways to play. There's no wrong way to play D&D, but the biggest thing is know your group. And that's not a one and done, that's an ongoing process. Get a feel for them as time goes on, see what they engage with, see what they enjoy. There are certain players that take this a lot more seriously than others. I personally play D&D and just put in a lot of jokes, because that's the group of people I play with. But if you throw in a character named Bruce Bane, who's a vigilante who imitates an owl, some people might be upset and think you're making fun of the game itself. The second one, and this is honestly for writing or individual modules or just storytelling as a whole, don't be afraid of tropes. Tropes are storytelling devices that are used in a wide variety of things. There are a bunch of different examples with tropes, and some of the most basic ones you see in everyday RPGs. There's nothing wrong with the delivery or a fetch quest. There's a reason that video game RPGs do them regularly. They are easy quests that familiarize the player with the world. They get to go around, see a few things, get to see everybody, and basically see how the world interacts with them in a very low-stakes manner. But that's also not the only kind of trope I'm talking about, not just from video games. There's also just nothing wrong with using actual storytelling tropes. One of the best examples is the locked room mystery. Basically that something has happened inside of a locked room that seems absolutely impossible. Edgar Allan Poe did that in The Murder of Rue Morgue, Arthur Conan Doyle used it all the time in Sherlock Holmes, Terry Pratchett, TV shows use it all the time, Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Star Trek, Monk. They literally all use it, and the reason they do is because it's fun. It's a clever puzzle to figure out. It takes time, and there's effort that goes into it. There's a reason that these things are tropes and they stick around. And that is just one example. There are hundreds of others. An evil twin, a former enemy with amnesia, mirror worlds, the betrayer of a close ally, a showdown at dusk, a secret test that players don't even know they're taking, a heist. You can look up a million different types of tropes, and as long as you do the next thing, they are so much fun to put into your campaign. The next thing is subvert expectations. This is still use tropes, but subvert expectations. So those tropes make players feel comfortable because it's something they are familiar with. They can lock onto the storyline and they understand what's going on. But the follow-up to that one is it can't just play out how they've seen it play out before. And the best part about D&D and the best thing about a lot of these RPGs that take place in a fantasy world, there are a million different ways to subvert expectations. One of the most, especially with D&D and using that locked room mystery, maybe it's a shape changer. Maybe there's a dimensional door somewhere. Maybe there's there's a break in the anti-magic shield that is locking down this room. Maybe that's all in your mind and mind flayers are just messing with your brain. There are a billion ways to subvert expectations, and here's the most important thing. Still keep it your story, you're just using a general framework. And it really does help, and especially can help if you're in a little bit of a rut and trying to kind of work your way out of it. And lastly, and not most importantly, but it's still pretty important, be flexible. Don't railroad your players into thinking that there's only one way to solve this. Every module, every single thing you do should have multiple solutions. And honestly, your players will come up with solutions that you didn't even think of. It happens a lot more often than you will think that they just come up with something ridiculous that is, oh wow, yeah, I didn't even think about that. Your job as the DM is to keep up a general framework of the world and explain how the player's actions influence said world. You don't want to basically think that the players are playing your adventure wrong. They're the players. They're the ones who get to decide how to play it. If it leads to their own fiery doom, that's on them. I hope that's helpful to a lot of you. These are all tips and tricks I've been DMing for 10, 15 years. I hope some of this is useful for you guys, and hope to see you soon. Have a good one.